Villains are villains for a reason. They're evil, violent, and dangerous. They want to take over the world or doom all of humanity for a laugh. They are the bad guys after all, and no matter how three-dimensional they might be, no matter how tragic their backstory, their motives are always wrong. That's why they're the villain and you're the good guy, right? Well, maybe that's not always the case. Maybe, sometimes, rarely, the villain was actually onto something. Whether it's making the tough choices to stop the coming of a greater evil, questioning a status quo that really should have been questioned long ago, or simply approaching the same problem from a different perspective, these villains aren't quite as devious and despicable as they first appear. Yes, their methods aren't always the kindest or sanest, and they're a long way from being heroes, but they were trying to do the right thing, and in the end, isn't that all that counts? Of course, we will be diving into motivations, twists, and endings here, so a spoiler alert is in effect from here on out. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are 10 video game villains who were actually right. Number 10. King Dedede, Kirby's Adventure / Nightmare in Dreamland. Villains in kids' games aren't that bad, are they? What are they going to do? Keep the hero up past their bedtime, steal the last cookie, swallow the world in inescapable darkness and nightmares? Wait, one of those sounds significantly worse than the others, and it's not the one about the cookie. Yes, for a series designed for children and starring a pink circle with feet as its protagonist, the Kirby games pit players against some seriously dark villains. King Dedede, a blue penguin in a Santa outfit who wobbles as he waddles, is not one of them. In Kirby's Adventure, or Nightmare in Dreamland if you want to get all remake about this, however, he steals and breaks the Star Rod and shuts down the Fountain of Dreams, leaving the citizens of Dreamland unable to sleep and making them very grouchy indeed. Naturally, Kirby enters the fray to set things right. With King Dedede trying to thwart him at every step, he reassembles the Star Rod and repowers the Fountain of Dreams, only to release Nightmare, the true villain of the game, in the process. You see, King Dedede had only destroyed the Star Rod to keep the infinitely evil a dark wizard trapped away forever, and Kirby went and ruined that plan spectacularly. Number 9. N. Pokemon Black and White. Ah, Pokemon, the global phenomenon that practically encourages 10-year-olds to run unchaperoned through the wilderness, capture small creatures, and cheer as they force them to fight to the death. Or maybe I'm getting confused with Palworld. In either case, while the games go to great lengths to assure us Pokemon really are happy to be locked away for all eternity in little plastic balls, wouldn't they rather be running free? This is the question posed by Pokemon Black and White villain N, and to be perfectly honest, it's a valid one. N is the leader of Team Plasma and has vowed to free all Pokemon from mistreatment at the hands of humans by any means. This involves positioning himself as a roadblock between the player and their goal of becoming a Pokemon champion, and hypocritically capturing Pokemon to fight against them, including the legendary Zekrom and Reshiram, all to permanently separate Pokemon from humans. Strange methods aside, N's questioning of the status quo comes from the right place. He has seen too many Pokemon suffer at the hands of humans and just wants it to stop. He has a good message, but hasn't quite worked out how to spread it. Number 8. Superman, Injustice Gods Among Us. The big blue Boy Scout is the paragon of justice. He's simply too good for his own good. Even in the Red Sun comics, when his pod crash-landed in the USSR rather than the USA, Superman still did his utmost to save lives. It seems no matter what the world throws at him, nothing can sway old Supes from the path of peace. Nothing, until Injustice's Joker. This Joker finally pushed things too far. He drugged Superman, tricked him into killing a pregnant Lois Lane, and to top it off, detonated a nuclear bomb in Metropolis, instantly vaporizing millions of innocent lives. Yeah, just a little too far there. He then mocks Superman, saying that if he's locked up, he'll just escape and do something worse. And so Superman finally snaps and unleashes his inner Omni-Man. He kills the Joker, then goes on to create a new regime, taking over the world. In just a few years, he eliminates crime, permanently removes any villains or heroes who get in the way, and essentially enforces world peace. Even though his methods are extreme, it's a question everyone's had at least once while watching a superhero film. If the villain is just going to escape and cause more harm, why not simply retire them, permanently? Number 7. Haytham Kenway, Assassin's Creed 3. Assassins equal good, Templars equal bad. That's the narrative the first 4 Assassin's Creed games attempt to spin. Templars want to take over the world and rule with an iron fist, whereas Assassins advocate free will above all else. But even then, players could see cracks forming in this apparently watertight absolute. Enter Haytham Kenway. If the fact that he wasn't on the box hadn't given it away, the opening would have convinced anyone that he was the main character, guiding Haytham from an assassination in an opera house to a voyage to America to the founding of a chapter in Boston. Players learn that he is suave, charismatic, a capable leader, and above all, honorable. The only problem is, plot twist, he's a Templar! Yes, the man you learned to trust and whose goals seemed just is secretly a bad guy. But does that invalidate his views? Not really. He wants a world of peace and prosperity, but has come to the conclusion that people are too self-destructive to achieve that without guidance. And, well, he's not wrong. People need good leaders to guide them, and the Templars, ones like Haytham anyway, make for very good leaders indeed. Just look at those in charge today and tell me you wouldn't prefer Haytham instead. He's got a lovely hat. Number 6. Kessler. Infamous. As previously mentioned, detonating a bomb in the middle of a city and killing thousands tends to put you square on the villain list. After hiring protagonist Cole McGrath to deliver a special package that triggers a catastrophic explosion once opened, a villain is precisely what Infamous's Kessler becomes. Luckily for our hero Cole, the explosion doesn't kill him, instead awakening dormant electrical powers. Unluckily, Kessler is still at large, and if Cole and the player ever hope to defeat him, they need to master those powers. As it turns out, that's precisely what Kessler wants. That's because Kessler is Cole. Cole from the future, from a timeline when life went perfectly. He married his girlfriend and had children only for an unstoppable monster known as the Beast to appear and begin tearing through America. The Cole of this timeline was too weak to stop the Beast, and so he travelled back in time, awoke past Cole's powers early, and hounded him until he was strong enough to do what future Cole couldn't. Kessler kills, he destroys, and he ruins Cole's and thereby his own peaceful life, but it was a calculated risk. Ruin one life to save millions. Probably could have saved a lot of trouble if he'd explained himself though. But there we are. Number 5. Marlene, The Last of Us. In The Last of Us, there are no heroes or villains. Not really, anyway. Surviving in a post-apocalypse where sentient mushrooms want to eat your face takes a lot out of a person, and before long, well, they can become just as monstrous as the ferocious fungi. That being said, it is still a video game, and a video game needs its protagonists and antagonists, otherwise it's a bit too much like real life. Marlene is the leader of the Fireflies, a group of freedom fighters rebelling against the tyranny of Fedra. While playing as Joel, the player will experience both the brutality of Fedra and the terrorist-adjacent methods of the Fireflies firsthand, and will likely write both of them off. Marlene, however, seems nice enough. She thrusts a smart alecky kid named Ellie into Joel's care and charges him with taking her to a base on the far side of the country. But then he gets there, and Marlene says Ellie must die. Joel, not so happy about this, murders Marlene and everyone else to save Ellie. But if you put all emotion aside, Marlene was right. Sacrificing Ellie would have saved countless lives with a cure, seen the world rebuilt, and the nightmare over. Thanks to Joel, those darned mushrooms are here to stay. Number 4. Saren Arterius, Mass Effect. Ah, Saren Arterius. He looks evil, sounds evil, does evil things, and even his name has an evil ring to it. Either that or it sounds like some kind of cholesterol-lowering drug. With all that going against him, he must be evil, right? Well, yes, for the most part. Saren is ruthless in his goals, happy to attack supply freighters and settlements to find what he's after and kill any who stand in his way. The youngest ever Turian Spectre, Saren was given unprecedented levels of freedom to complete missions for the Council. It's on one of these missions that Saren comes in contact with Sovereign, a Reaper disguised as a ship, and slowly becomes indoctrinated. However, he doesn't lose his mind completely, and his reasons for siding with the Reapers are saner than you might think. The Reapers were created to wipe out all sapient life once every 50,000 years in order to preserve balance and prevent any species from creating unhinged AI that would wipe out all life. Saren just wanted to convince them that some species could be spared the purge and maybe even join the Reapers, which is exactly what players can do in the Synthesis ending. Unhinged AI wiping out all life though. That's just sci-fi nonsense, right? Right? Number 3. Letho, The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. Despite their skills and the services they provide by wiping out bloodthirsty Leshens, Kikimors, Lubbekins, and other beasties, witches are often despised and even feared by the people they protect. Because of this, by the time of The Witcher 2, their numbers have dwindled and many of their schools have been disbanded or destroyed. And while old goody two-shoes Geralt may always lean towards doing the right thing, it's no surprise that other witches have taken the darker route. Even though he literally murders kings and fans the flames of hatred between elven freedom fighters, the Scoia'tael, and the human kingdoms, Letho isn't evil, and he has his reasons. A witcher from the Viper School, he only wanted to rebuild his fallen school, restore some of the honour and glory of his kind, and live peacefully in a realm that hated him. But for that, he needed powerful allies, namely the Emperor of Nilfgaard. By murdering kings, Letho threw the realms into chaos, allowing Nilfgaard the perfect opportunity to strike. More war is never good, but the kings he killed couldn't stop fighting each other either. And most were cruel, persecuting and killing elves or magic users, so really, Letho did the continent a service, in a way. Number 2. King Logan, Fable 3. Tyrannical kings hell-bent on holding on to power by any means necessary, and fantasy stories go together like fish and chips. They really are the perfect, easy-to-hate villains, but they can feel rather cliché, so it's nice to see a game put its own spin on the formula. Enter Fable 3, and a spin so unique it turns its tyrant into a hero better suited for its story than the actual hero. King Logan is cruel and seemingly heartless. He raises taxes astronomically, basically shuts down the education system, and funnels his subjects into the burgeoning industries, cutting wages to almost nothing and even forcing young children to work. Oh, and he's also the protagonist's older brother. Christmas dinner must be a wonderful time for that family. Regardless, play through the game as the hero of Brightwall and overthrow your brother, and he'll tell you why he did what he did. The Crawler is coming. Yes, the Crawler, an eldritch creature from the void, is coming to destroy all you hold dear, and your brother Logan was doing everything necessary to build up an army big and powerful enough to kill it. You just messed all that up, and need to put it right pronto. Big brothers can be arses, but sometimes they have their reasons. Number 1. Edgar Ross, Red Dead Redemption. It's strange to think Red Dead Redemption is set in 1911, just a few years before the First World War. Was America really that wild and uncivilized so recently? Well, yes, the Wild West technically ran from 1607 to 1912, and while it's the mid-1800s West that comes to mind when most people think of cowboys, it only truly came to an end at the start of the 20th century. This was, in large part, thanks to men like Edgar Ross. Now, Ross is far from a good guy, and he knows it. He's amoral, unscrupulous, and indifferent to people's emotions, but he also upholds the law and enforces them to a T. Holding a young family ransom to ensure a dangerous killer tracks down and kills his former on-the-run gangmates is fairly unforgivable, but John Marston is a dangerous killer, and so are his gangmates. Dutch's gang did so much damage, and while Ross comes across as evil for trying to stop them, he is doing the right thing in bringing about the end of an era of outlaws. He said it best himself. Sure, civilization may be dull, but the alternative, Mr. Marston, is hell. Yes, he killed one of gaming's greatest protagonists, but thanks to Edgar Ross, the United States is now 100% crime-free. Right? We're all agreed that that is the case.